So we talked about the volunteers and what you're looking for. Is there a story that sticks out to you, like the why you do this? Is there a specific, like somebody that you saw at present, or one of these events that just kind of changed their world?
Oh, I could we could go for hours on this. The one I bring up a lot because it was that first year, but it was so impactful. So a big part of the charity is doing events, and I love going to events because as a kid I couldn't afford it and doing all these events. So now as an adult, I'm like going sporting events, concerts and stuff. So now I just like have all these friends and I've made these connections that now I turn to the charity and we'll get tickets donated or vice whatever it is. So that first year, my buddy still works for the Jazz. Anyway, he loves to hook me up, and he was just like, "Hey, my family can't. I can't remember what, but anyway, my he's like, I got these tickets tonight for tonight's game, and they're in the Toyota Club, and the Toyota Club is like all you can eat buffet. It's first like 10 rows, of the Jazz game. I'm like, this is awesome. Like, I can't wait. We happened to have an event that same night, so I was like, oh, I'll go to the event, do the event, and then run over to the game. And we're doing this event, and this mom comes up to me, and she's just like, hey, do you know? It was close to Christmas, and she's like, hey, do you know where I can get a Jazz jersey? And this event was at Ronald McDonald House, so it's like 2 miles down the road from the stadium. And I was like gonna say Walmart or something. And I'm just like, oh, actually, we're right down the street from the Jazz Stadium, and they have a store there. She's like, oh, great, thank you so much. Well, yeah, sure, no worries. And then she went with her kids, and they were playing the games, and I just kept thinking like, I have these tickets. I should probably just give it to them. And I'm like, but it's the Toyota Club. I mean, I'm like, all you can eat food. And a big sports fan, and I was just like for 20 minutes, it just kept bugging. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna give it to them. So I, they actually left, and I was like, oh crap. So I ran all over the house to try and find them, and I found her, and I was like, hey, are you busy tonight? And she's like, no. And I was like, here's 4 tickets to the Jazz game tonight. Why don't you take the kids and then you can buy a jersey while you're there? She's like, oh my gosh, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, go for it. Just thinking, oh, that was great. That's what the charity does. It's gonna be fun. Not expecting this thank you card I got back, but I was just like, yeah, I mean, it was enough. I loved it just to send them on the way. But she found me and gave me this thank you card, and she's like, hey, thank you so much for the Jazz tickets. It was actually the first time, I'm going to change the names. This is the first time Dylan was able to eat an all week. So he had heart and brain surgery like uh, a week before and hadn't eaten all week till he went to the Jazz game. So she's like, the first time he's eaten in a week. And he was, I think, 5 or 6. And she's like, he was the most vocal I've ever seen him, just yelling defense, but he couldn't really say the word, so he was just like defense, not like just as a little kid, just yelling it out. And then and then she said, and it helped bring up Sarah's mood during the holidays because she was in foster care, and it was really hard for her. And she was like, it was great for her to see how what she said was how the other side lives life. Like she thought she would never see this side of life again, being all you can eat food, being
It's
really
good
close
food.
to the
I've
core.
been to the
Yeah,
Toyota Club.
yeah,
It's good.
yeah. And I started to get to know the family a little bit more. And this couple had 8 foster kids, and they usually take the kids that no one wants, like the kid that has to have brain surgery and heart surgery. She's like, no, we'll take them. And so they had 8 foster kids, and she only had 2 at the Ronald McDonald House while her husband were taking care of the rest. But I had no idea, this amazing experience was going to happen with, tickets that my buddy gave me. But that was so impactful because I'm like, what she said was like why we do it. It's like, these kids don't experience like life like a lot of other kids, but she got to taste it. She got to experience it. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So now it's just that in the first year, that really just kept me going and continues to keep me going because that event, I just like, oh my gosh, just because I was doing the charity, I was in that point in my life that I was able to do that for that family. And then that's just one example of tons of other families that were able to help. And I was just like, oh man, if I didn't even go with my heart and start this, that I would not have experienced that. And I tell people, like, you can give me all the money in the world and I would not trade it for that experience, just that one, let alone, we have hundreds of those types of stuff. I couldn't give it up. Yeah, I couldn't.
I want to do a shout out to our, we've got some really terrific listeners, like some amazing listeners. And there's a lot of organizations that you can support out there, but I want to just do a shout out. If you have a chance to support Ivan and what he's accomplishing, like this kid, this family will remember this event forever.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second thing I wanted to say is, how lucky are we to stand on the tracks of miracles? And I say that because that train's rolling. It's coming. We don't know where. We don't know when. We might not see what, but that was a miracle. What you did was a miracle in their life. And one of the things I was raised to believe is to be the miracle. Like, look for the opportunity to be the miracle. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not involved in an organization, you should be, because you're not on the tracks. You're not, if you are in survival mode and you're paying the bills and then you're going to work and then you're Christmas and then paying the bills and going to work and Christmas, you're missing out on a huge opportunity for you to enrich your life and create fulfillment. Mm-hmm. One of the things I admire about my friend Ivan is he has a tremendous amount of fulfillment in his life for a young man, because he has gone on the tracks and he's in the way of miracles hitting all the time. We have another friend of ours, Katie, who is on the tracks, and she's like, she'll talk about it in great detail, like these, like, and then this happened, and I wasn't expecting it, and then it happened. And I just feel like people who aren't involved in an organization, even outside your church, I want to say get outside the church. But even if that's where you're doing it, that's fine. But get in the place where you're doing some service, because if you're not, your life is not as good as it could be. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah.
And I feel like in my organization, and I hate to bring it back around, but in my organization, I always say that the person that's the most blessed is Rob.
Yeah.
Because of all the stuff that I'm doing and all the hard work that I'm doing, at the end of the day, like, man, it blesses my life endlessly.
What do you mean you haven't subscribed? Subscribe now.